our guild president, but unfortunately, Army rang this afternoon to say, sounding terribly croaky, to say he was ill and couldn't come. So that's most unfortunate. So he's been a terrific guild president, and so, but those of you who were here at the autumn meeting would have heard him speak then, but it's unfortunate that he won't be able to join us tonight. So I'll go straight on to my report. That is also in the booklet that you've got. And I'll essentially summarise, you know, various bits as Tim has done, pull out bits that I think are, you know, significant and interesting. The first thing, I suppose, is the graduation ceremonies. We've just, it doesn't seem very long ago, but it was July. We've just come out of 13 graduation ceremonies, and convocations played a role in those ceremonies, as it has since 1913, every year. And it's interesting that one of our councillors and Senator and ex-Warden, Warren Kerr, pointed out that until he dug out an old graduation booklet, I think it must have been from when he graduated, which indicated that until at least the late 1970s, the Warden actually closed the graduation ceremony with a bidding prayer which extolled everyone to pray for the university and the endeavours of its teachers and students. And I think it's worthwhile quoting from that bidding prayer. Bear in mind that I'm an historian, so I kind of immediately was interested to read this. To pray for a blessing, so that from its doors may go forth into the world those fitted by learning and by goodwill to justify by their labours and their lives the wisdom of those who founded a university in this land. So while the prayer may have been replaced, this injunction, in fact, remains at the heart of the Warden's address each year at each graduation ceremony. And I think graduation ceremonies are a really powerful reminder that a fundamental aim of our university is to inspire the seeking and getting of wisdom. Such ceremonies have taken place in university halls, not dissimilar to Winthrop Hall, for centuries. They are a spectacular rite of passage for the students, the graduates, as they process into the hall, dressed in robes from the medieval universities of Britain and to the accompaniment of the stirring sounds of the organ. With the awarding of their degrees, they immediately become graduates and thus members of the convocation of UWA graduates. And I think as the enduring power of the graduation ceremony suggests, origins matter. It's worth remembering that the term convocation dates back to those medieval universities. Then it meant, in broad terms, an assembly of persons, I quote, called together to answer to a summons. And of course, when convocation members gather at our general meetings twice a year, that's exactly what we're doing. Gradually, the term evolved, and at many of the oldest British universities, convocation became defined as a body consisting of all registered graduates having the power of discussing and expressing an opinion on any matter connected with the interests of the university and of electing certain members of the Senate. Again, this role has endured. Convocation has also been presenting awards to students. Tim mentioned receiving a convocation award when he was a student. And we've been doing this for over 70 years. A huge amount of work goes into the judging of awards. This year we presented some 20 awards, and they really represent the veritable tip of an iceberg of applications. Each has to be read and assessed by a 6-person panel from our awards committee, which is ably led by Nini Ong. It's an onerous but also a fascinating task in which panellists gain a great sense of the extent of important and exciting research being conducted at UWA. This year, we had to have an online awards ceremony. And in fact, that demonstrates the way in which we have been able to take the leap from institutionalised past practices to an online world. It was a challenge to many of us, I have to say, but we were ably instructed and assisted by Professor Mark Tennant, who's chair of our IT committee, and Claire Watkins, who's our acting convocation officer. And now we've leapt into a hybrid live stream world. And of course, this was indeed necessitated by the COVID pandemic. And of course, it's meant too that many of our events have had to be bunched up towards the last quarter of the year. Convocation Day, which is held each year to celebrate the first meeting of Convocation in 1913, was delayed, but with the arrival of spring and warmer weather, hopefully, we'll be able to, we've been able to reschedule it to Sunday the 16th of October. It'll be followed by the Convocation-hosted dinner for the Senate, and then in November, the 50th reunion of the 1972 graduates, and we're delighted that Jeff Gallup has agreed to come across to Sydney to speak to his peers from 1972 when he graduated. And our events committee, led by Angela Evangelou Giannakis, and supported by members, I must say, of Development and Alumni Relations, they've got a hectic few months ahead. But perhaps one of the major activities over the past year has been the finalisation of our new strategic plan. And that development, the development of it, has been led by our Deputy Warden, who's over here, David Griffiths. Now, I don't know what you think of strategic planning. In the old SWOT process, remember the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats that I've been involved in many times, people often agonised about an organisation's weaknesses and threats, and then the plan, when it was finally finished, ended up in a bottom drawer, largely ignored. Now, we decided this year, thanks to the suggestion of one of our councillors, Maura Maley, to try out the innovative SOAR approach to examine. SOAR stands for Strengths, Opportunities, Aspirations, and then to focus on measurable results. I think this has helped us to better recognise the potential of the organisation and perhaps create a shared vision for the future. And also, this has meant we've been able to organise our strategic plan around 4 key pillars: revitalising, inspiring, engaging and contributing. It became a really interesting task as we began to reimagine council so that it's better equipped for the 21st century. And we're determined not to put it in a bottom drawer. Some of the changes proposed will require changes to the statute. Now, the university is already proposing changes to other parts of the statute, so those relating to the convocation chapter of the statute are being developed at a really timely moment, and our very experienced governance committee led by Warren Kerr is working on this at present. Amongst a number of initiatives, I won't go through them all, but a number of initiatives in the strategic plan is an advocacy committee which we've recently established, led by Simon Dawkins, who's over here. It's in its infancy as yet, but it's got exciting plans to bring the latest issues in higher education to members of Convocation to keep you abreast of the real challenges that occur in this fast-changing environment. We've also set up a mentoring and internships working group, which is led by Raj Karup, who's passionate about mentoring and internships and very experienced. This follows a submission that we made to the Vice-Chancellor's Student Experience Task Force, which reported earlier this year. And since that came out, we've been talking to people throughout the university to try and identify the existing range of programs that exist within the university in mentoring and internship, and determine how we can best assist in supporting the university by providing mentorships, internships, employment opportunities and career advancement for our undergraduates and new convocation members. And of course, with 141,000 members, convocation provides a natural link for this initiative. Now, I anticipate that the full strategic plan will be available on the convocation website for you to read and comment on next month. As soon as it's available, an email will be sent out to members of convocation, and we urge you to read the plan carefully and please provide us with feedback. We need to know what you want from convocation and what you're prepared to bring to convocation to assist us. So, in conclusion, I thank the Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor, Tim, the Acting Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor, and other members of the Executive who've all been tremendously supportive of convocation. Over the last 6 months, David and I have had numerous meetings with a number of them, and this has been tremendously helpful. I also have to thank Fiona Allen, who's sitting over here, the Chief Advancement Officer, and her team at Development and Alumni Relations, because they're these days providing considerable support in the organisation of our events. I also, of course, thank Claire Watkins, who's standing in to Juanita Perez, who many of you have know as a convocation officer for many years. She's on well-deserved long service leave, and I believe she's in the Philippines at the moment, but we look forward to welcoming her back in October. But in the meantime, it's been fantastic having Claire with us. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the members of Convocation Council for their support over the last 6 months as we've begun to implement our reimagined role. And I've got to remind you that all councillors are volunteers. And I have to say their input and dedication to UWA is tremendously impressive. At times, and we've got opinions too, so that at times during council meetings they've been spirited and our debates have been robust, but I think this has resulted in well-informed decision-making on your behalf. With that in mind, let me remind you that the next round of Convocation Council elections will open on the 1st of November. Consider nominating for the various positions that are available for 2003. All boards need a wide range of skills, and we look forward to your contribution. So thank you. The next slide relates to the Convocation Officer's report. This is essentially to tell you that there's a list of UWA graduates whose whereabouts are completely unknown to us. So if you have a chance, would you please check out the list posted on the Convocation website? The details are there. And send an email to convocation@uwa.edu.au. Our final item on the agenda is the Independent Auditor's Report to the members of Convocation for the year ending the 31st of December 2021. Now, the Treasurer's Report and the Auditor's Report are included in the printed booklet which you've got. And these reports have been considered and endorsed by Convocation Council on behalf of members. The report, I'm pleased to say, is without any qualifications and demonstrates that Convocation is in a healthy financial state and able to pay its debts when they fall due. And on behalf of Convocation, I would really like to commend the work of David Griffiths, the Deputy Warden and Acting Convocation Treasurer, a role he was thrust into, and also to Juanita for her work before she went on leave for leading to this excellent outcome of a clean slate in our auditor's report.